So I'm currently reading a bunch of books. It doesn't really matter when I say that. It's always going to be true that I'm currently reading a bunch of books. I just finished my 78th book of the year, actually, and my 1330th all time, which is pretty cool. Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal. And you don't have to track, by the way. It's just something that I've, done for the last 10 plus years. I find it really motivating, and I realize it's not everybody's thing, but there are advantages to it. So I don't know. It's just what I do. Then there's this one that I'm almost finished. I should finish it later on tonight, and we've got Never Enough by Andrew Wilkinson. And it's funny. So James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, he said that this book was like going to therapy and business school all at once. And I'm really enjoying it. So, geez, and my little book tower fell. But yeah, Never Enough, Andrew Wilkinson. I'm really, really liking it a lot. It's a very fast read for what it is. It's more like a business memoir, but there's some, business lessons embedded in there too. It's absolutely worth reading. Then there's one that not a whole lot of people know about yet, which is really a shame. The author is like such a motivating kind of guy, and he's fun fact, like he's in his mid 80s. I think he just turned 84, and he's still a competitive bodybuilder. Like he still gets on stage in bodybuilding competitions and looks damn good too. And so his name's John Brink, and his book's called Living Young, Dying Old. And it's about health and fitness, longevity, and it just has a bunch of like just solid life lessons to impart. He's been like around, 84 years, and he's accumulated some wisdom. It's really a special kind of book. And then one that I went to start it, and then I realized I have too many books on the go. Like last night, I bought like 10 Kindle books, which is stupid. Like, it's why? Why? I mean, I know why. They were like 99 cents each. There's one that was maybe $4, and one that was $2.99. I was like, I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. And so I bought a bunch of them, which means that this book has been getting kind of pushed back, which is really a shame because I want to get to it. And it's Built to Finish by Stephen Pivnik, and he's like, man, you talk about like inspiring dudes. He's like a few decades younger than John Brink, but the same type of guy. Like this guy's like building, like just big businesses. He had an exit a little while ago. I think for 8 figures something. I'm not sure the number, but so obviously, like no matter what metric you're measuring that by, like that is like he's successful in business. But he's also like running Ironmans and stuff. It's really quite astonishing. So and like this book is basically kind of like Ironman for business, like the lessons learned that you can apply to both. And I'm really looking forward to starting it finally. Then there's this one. I'm actually on chapter 2 of this one as well. It's really good. Like I mean, I don't finish bad books. Like if I finish a book, it's because it's really good. And if I keep one around, like I keep coming back to it, it's because I find like it's worth it. And this is one of those books. It's just been kind of pushed aside because I just want to. I got to finish some of these books right before I, start new ones, which is really my problem. And it's called Wonder Hell by Laura Gassner Otting. It's basically about coping with the problems that come with success, which sounds like an amazing problem to have, right? But when things start like going really well, that's when things kind of fall off the rails too, in many ways. I know when my own business started to take off, not to Stephen Pivnik levels, but I'm doing really well. Like a whole lot of things, like it became unmanageable in many ways, and their expectations and things like just details like that you have to stay on top of, and just things that you really have to get organized with, and challenges, like unique opportunities as well. And so this book is about overcoming some of those. And again, like she's a super successful businesswoman herself. I'm learning from the best when it comes to these books here. This next one is another one I started a while back. You're probably noticing a pattern of unfinished books, and it's called The Library, A Fragile History. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the history of libraries, right? And actually, there's another book coming up on this list, and it's also about libraries. And it's not this book, but the author wrote one of my favorite books about reading, and so I'll get to that in just a little while. But yeah, it's exactly. I mean, it's a history of libraries, which I've read the library book by Susan Orlean and The Library by Stuart Kells. So this would be the second book that I've read called The Library, and I've read like dozens of books about libraries, right? Every single one of them has some unique angle or like something that I didn't know before, like some unique approach to it, like a reason to read it. You think you read like a few books about libraries and you get it, but that's actually not how it works. Like you read one book about libraries and then you just want to read them all. So The Library, Fragile History. I'm going to finished that one too. And then this one, the author sent to me, which is really nice of him. And he sent me his other book too. It's called The 2 Week Vacation Test. And, the idea, I haven't read that one yet, but the idea being, you should set up your business so that, if you were to take a 2 week vacation, it wouldn't completely fall off the rails. And, I'm at the point now where I can barely take a 1 day vacation. So I kind of need that book. And, I'm going to need this one too. It's called From Six Figures to Seven Figures by Austin Netzley. And how I choose my books a lot of times is I, reading about like the next, like the current problem or like the immediate challenge or roadblock, like the constraint of my business, right? And so, I'll read something to get me over that. Like if you have like a problem with lead flow, like read $100 million Leads by Alex Hormozy or something like that. Whatever is going to help you get past your current problem. And then in business, like problems never stop coming. That's the point of Laura's book, right? So you read the next book about the next problem, right? And so it never really ends, but you just get better and more profitable problems to solve. Which is pretty cool. And if you want my personal help solving some of these business problems, I'd also invite you to join the Competitive Advantage community on School. Basically, what I'll help you do is get famous in your niche fast, then build multiple revenue streams and become a full-time creator by following a custom plan that we build together. Direct access to me. Basically, you can come to me with every single business problem or challenge, and we'll work through it together. First link in the video description is where you find out more about that. And the next book is called The Stoic Path to Wealth by Darius Faroo. He's one of those guys, like I've read, I think this would be the third or fourth book of his that I've read, and it's always an easy decision. Like if he come, like this is his newest book, right? It's basically not a decision that I have to make. Like it's been made for me. He's never let me down once, and it's always like profitable in all sorts of ways to read his books, and this one especially. So Stoic Path to Wealth, and down to the last three books here. So a friend of mine, actually, he sent me this too. It's called The Obvious Choice by Jonathan Goodman. He's like absolutely one of the top fitness trainers in the world, and he sort of pivoted his business, and he's got like 200,000 clients and customers worldwide. But what he does now is basically help other fitness trainers grow their business. And so this book is timeless lessons on success, profit, and finding your way. And there are 15 of them that he goes through in a relatively quick read. So like I'm not expecting to take too much time reading this book, but like he's like one of the best in the world at what he does, and we are in similar fields, right? So I know that I'm going to be able to learn a ton from this. And inside the community, I'll be sharing all my insights from this and basically every other book that I read too. So again, the first link in the video description for that. Last two, though, we've got one of my favorite poets, and I know, like going straight from like business, investing, making money to like poetry, but this is what I do. This is who I am. It's the Essential Rumi. Rumi is a Sufi poet, lived several hundred years ago. One of my like favorite poets of all time. It's weird. I have a weird pantheon of favorite poets. It's like all over the place. So it's Rumi, Hafiz, another Sufi poet, and you've got like John Milton, Shakespeare. I love all of those guys, and Charles Bukowski, which is like totally different. Like those people could not be further apart from each other in terms of poetry. But I love all of them, and so this is basically a collection of his essential poems, like his best poems. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Like I don't see myself reading this front to back. I'll probably dip in and out of this one as I read. Hopefully finish some of these other books, right? So Rumi, I keep coming back to Rumi, Hafiz, like all of those poets, even Charles Bukowski. Like I've been reading all of those guys for years and years and years, and I keep coming back because they're just like an endless fountain of awesome poetry. So Essential Rumi. Then the very last book here, it's called The Library at Night by Alberto Menguel, and he's the author of one of my favorite books about reading, and it's got a simple title. It's called A History of Reading, and it's just spectacular. Like it's one of those books that like if you're only going to read maybe a few books about books and reading and why people love them, and just like why do people like devote their entire lives to these things called like books with these like weird little lines like squiggled on the paper. Like you read that book, you'll get it. And like Alberto Menguel, he's one of us. He's a book person, and he's just brilliant. And like Actually, you know what? I have like obviously I take complete notes on every single book that I've ever read since 2014, and I will put I mean on top of the links to all of these books that I mentioned here, put my notes from a history of reading and a few other things that I think you'll find interesting down in the video description. So that's in there. But just off the top of my head, there's just a quick story about Alberto Manguel. And if you know who Jorge Luis Borges is, he's like a really famous like South American writer, and he was blind towards the end of his life, and he actually had people that like super famous writer. Some people believe that he was like robbed of the Nobel Prize. I am one of those people. Like I honestly think he should have won the Nobel Prize. He's just a brilliant guy. And but towards the end of his life, he was blind, and he used to get people to read to him. And so I believe this was down in like Buenos Aires or like somewhere like in South America. He was in this bookstore, and Alberto Manuel was working, or he was there in the bookstore for some reason, and so he had or hired this guy Alberto Manuel to read to him, so because he couldn't read for himself because he was blind. And so there's a really cool story in the book, A History of Reading, about how Miguel was one of the people who read to the blind Jorge Luis Borges. Again, if you're a book person, you might find that super cool. I'm a book person, so I found that super cool. But yeah, the library at night, and again, like it's just one of those easy decisions that I don't even have to really make. It's already been made for me. Like I know I'm gonna love it, and again, it's one of those ones. I actually haven't started this one yet because I'm going to finish the others. Like I'm not gonna make the same mistake here. I'm not gonna start this book and not finish it. So I'm waiting until I finish some of these other books. And I have one final reading tip for you, and it's in this video right here. It's a very short video, but it's one of my absolute best tips on how I've been able to read 1,300 books in the last 10 years. I do this every single day of my life. It has helped me tremendously. It is just like I said, it's one of my top reading tips. Like if you were to ask me just like give me a few things or just one thing that could help me become a better reader or read more books, I would tell you exactly what I'm going to tell you in this video right here. So go watch that video right now. Thank you very much for watching this one, and always remember, bookmarks are for quitters.
I don't waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating. Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable.